The first thing you need to know about my wife, Jenna, is that she takes more selfies in a single gym session than most people take in a year. The second thing is that she's been screwing Blake Morgan, our neighborhood's answer to what happens when protein powder gains sentience and learns to drive a pickup truck. I'm Ethan Doyle, 38 years old, owner of Cosmic Comics, a struggling little shop that smells like old paper and broken dreams. My wife is 35, gorgeous, and runs fitness classes at the local gym. She's also been lying to me for months, but we'll get to that. It started with the late-night workouts. Now, I'm no fitness expert, but I'm pretty sure most gyms don't stay open until midnight for private training sessions. When I asked Jenna about it, she'd flash that perfect smile and say, "You wouldn't understand, honey. It's about pushing boundaries." Turns out she was pushing boundaries all right, just not the ones I thought. Blake Blitz Morgan is everything I'm not. 6'3", shoulders that could bench press a small car, and the kind of jaw that makes women forget their own names. He played college football until a knee injury ended his dreams of NFL glory. Now he owns CrossFit Revolution, the gym where my wife spends more time than she does at home. The signs were everywhere, really. I just chose to ignore them because, well, who wants to admit their marriage is falling apart? There was the way Jenna's phone became surgically attached to her hand, the mysterious new workout clothes that cost more than my monthly comic book orders, the fact that she started showering immediately after coming home from the gym, claiming she was too sweaty to even hug. My friend Samir, who co-owns the comic shop with me, was the first to say it out loud. We were organizing inventory on a Tuesday afternoon when he looked up from a box of Batman issues and said, "Ethan, you know she's cheating, right?" I dropped the comic I was holding. "What are you talking about?" "Come on, man. The late nights, the secrecy, the way she looks at her phone like it's about to solve world hunger. Plus, I saw Blake's truck parked on Elm Street last Thursday. That's 2 blocks from your house. Samir's 40, divorced, and has the kind of dry wit that cuts through bullshit like a laser through tissue paper. He's also usually right about these things, which makes him both invaluable and incredibly annoying." "Maybe he was visiting someone else," I said, but even I could hear how pathetic it sounded. Sure, and maybe I'm secretly Batman. That night, I paid attention. Really paid attention. Jenna came home at 11:30 p.m., hair perfectly styled, makeup fresh, claiming she'd had an intense cardio session. She disappeared into the bathroom for 45 minutes, emerged in silk pajamas, and kissed my forehead like I was her elderly uncle. "How was your workout?" I asked. "Exhausting," she said, but she was practically glowing. Blake really knows how to push me to my limits. I'll bet he does, I thought. The next morning, I was making coffee when I overheard Jenna talking to her best friend Melissa on the phone. The kitchen vent connects to the upstairs bathroom, and sound travels better than you'd think. "I can't keep this up much longer," Jenna was saying. "Ethan's starting to ask questions." "Just tell him you're training for a competition or something," Melissa replied. I could hear her voice clearly through Jenna's speakerphone. "Besides, you said Blake's incredible." "Some things are worth the risk. God, Mel, you should see his body, and the things he can do." Jenna giggled like a teenager. Poor Ethan. He thinks foreplay is asking if I want the lights on or off. My coffee mug hit the floor and shattered. Jenna's voice stopped immediately. "Honey, are you okay down there?" "Fine," I called back. "Just dropped something." Just my entire marriage, apparently. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Jenna's purse. I felt like a creep, but desperate times and all that. Hidden in the side pocket, I found a small bottle of expensive massage oil with a handwritten label. "For our special workouts, B. B for Blake. How original." I sat in my comic shop that evening, staring at the bottle and thinking. Samir found me there at closing time. "You look like someone just told you Superman was actually a tax accountant," he said. I showed him the bottle. He whistled low. "Well, that's pretty damning evidence. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Confront her? Hire a private investigator? Cry into a pint of ice cream?" "Or," Samir said, a wicked gleam in his eye, "you could have a little fun with this." "What do you mean?" "I mean, if she wants to play games, maybe it's time you learned the rules." That night, I made a decision. If Jenna wanted to sneak around, if she wanted to treat me like an idiot, then maybe it was time to stop being one. I had a plan forming, something that would either prove my suspicions or make me feel like the biggest paranoid fool in Massachusetts. I went to the hardware store and bought a small tube of clear, fast-setting adhesive, the kind that bonds skin instantly and requires medical attention to remove safely. Back home, I carefully emptied half of Jenna's special massage oil and replaced it with the adhesive, mixing it just enough to maintain the original consistency. If she was using this oil for innocent massages with her trainer, nothing would happen. The adhesive wouldn't activate without prolonged skin-to-skin contact and friction. But if she was using it for what I suspected, well, let's just say their next workout was going to be memorable. I replaced the bottle exactly where I'd found it and went to bed, sleeping better than I had in months. Tomorrow, I'd find out exactly what kind of marriage I was really in. As I drifted off, I couldn't help but smile. If Jenna thought I was just going to sit there and take it, she was about to learn something new about her boring husband. Sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should worry about most. The next evening, Jenna announced she needed another late session with Blake. She stood in front of our bedroom mirror, applying lipstick with the kind of precision usually reserved for brain surgery. "Don't wait up," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. "This is going to be a long one." "I'll bet," I muttered. "What was that?" I said, "Don't forget your water bottle." She grabbed her gym bag, the one with the special massage oil, and headed for the door. "Love you, honey." The words hit me like a slap. How do you say "love you" to someone while walking out to cheat on them? But I just smiled and waved. "Love you too. Have fun with your workout." After she left, I did something I'd been putting off for weeks. I set up the security camera I'd bought months ago for the shop. Just a small one, positioned to watch our front door and driveway. For security purposes, of course. Then I settled in to wait. At 10:47 p.m., Blake's obnoxiously loud pickup truck rumbled down our street. The man had clearly never heard of subtlety. He parked 3 houses down, probably thinking he was being clever, and jogged toward our house carrying what looked like a protein shake and a small duffel bag. I watched through the window as he used the spare key Jenna had obviously given him. My spare key to my house so my wife could cheat on me more conveniently. The audacity was almost impressive. I'd positioned myself in the basement, where I could hear everything through the old heating vents, but couldn't be seen. Call it morbid curiosity, but I had to know exactly what I was dealing with. "God, I missed you," I heard Jenna say as the front door closed. "It's been 2 days," Blake replied, his voice carrying that cocky tone that made me want to punch things. 2 days too long. Did you bring the—" "Right here, babe. The good stuff." They were in the living room, directly above me. I could hear every word, every sound. Part of me wanted to storm upstairs and confront them, but I forced myself to wait. I needed this to play out. "Should we go upstairs?" Jenna asked. "Why wait? Your husband won't be back for hours, right?" "He's probably asleep already. He goes to bed at 10 like an old man." They both laughed, at me in my own house. I heard the couch creak, followed by sounds I really didn't need to identify. Then Jenna's voice. "Wait, let me get the oil." "The special stuff." Damn, I love how your mind works. Footsteps across the floor, the rustle of her gym bag, and then, "Here we go." This is going to feel amazing. I checked my watch. 11:15 p.m. If my calculations were correct, they had about 10 minutes before things got interesting. The sounds from upstairs continued, and I tried to distract myself by thinking about comic book plots. Anything to avoid the reality of what was happening in my living room. But then, at exactly 11:23 p.m., everything changed. "Ow," Jenna said. "Blake, something's wrong." "Wait, what do you mean? I can't— my hand is stuck to your chest?" "Very funny, babe. Come on." "No, I'm serious. I can't move my hand." There was a moment of silence, then Blake's voice, higher pitched now. "Jenna, I can't move either." What the hell was in that oil? "I don't know. It's the same stuff we always use." What followed was the most beautiful symphony of panic I'd ever heard. Jenna started screaming. Blake started cursing. They were apparently stuck together in multiple places, unable to separate without causing serious pain. "Call someone," Blake shouted. "I can't reach my phone. It's in my bag. Mine's in my pocket, but I can't get to it. Oh God, what is this stuff?" I crept upstairs and peered around the corner. The sight was better than I'd imagined. Jenna and Blake were tangled together on my couch like some kind of bizarre human pretzel, connected at the hands, chest, and what appeared to be Blake's shoulder to Jenna's back. The massage oil bottle lay empty on the coffee table. They were both half-dressed, sweaty, and absolutely panicked. Blake kept trying to pull away, which only made Jenna scream louder. "Stop moving," she cried. "You're making it worse." "I'm trying to get us unstuck." "Well, it's not working." I retreated to the basement and called Samir. "It's almost midnight," he answered. "This better be good." "Oh, it's good," I said, barely containing my laughter. "It's very, very good." After explaining the situation, Samir was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You magnificent bastard. What happens now?" "Now I wait for them to figure out how to call for help." It took them another 20 minutes. I heard Jenna finally manage to knock her phone off the coffee table with her foot, then somehow activate it with her nose. The conversation with Melissa was priceless. "Mel, I need you to come over right now," Jenna said, her voice strained. "It's almost midnight, Jen. Can't it wait?" "No! There's been an accident." "What kind of accident? Are you hurt?" "Blake and I are stuck together." "What do you mean, stuck together?" "I mean physically stuck." The massage oil turned into some kind of glue. There was a long pause. Are you telling me you and Blake are glued together? Like, actually glued? Yes. Stop asking questions and get over here. Should I call 911? No. Just come help us figure this out. Melissa arrived 15 minutes later. I heard the front door open, followed by what sounded like someone choking. Oh my God, Melissa gasped. You weren't kidding. Does it look like I was kidding? Jenna snapped. How did this happen? I don't know. We use the same oil we always use, and suddenly we're stuck like this. Maybe it went bad or something, Blake suggested weakly. Oil doesn't just turn into superglue, Blake. They spent the next hour trying various solutions. Ice cubes, cooking oil, dish soap. Nothing worked. Finally, at 2:30 a.m., they admitted defeat and called for medical help. I watched from my bedroom window as the paramedics arrived, trying not to laugh as they wheeled Jenna and Blake out on the same stretcher, still connected. The looks on the EMTS's faces were priceless. My phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Ethan, there's been an accident. Jenna's at the hospital. Some kind of allergic reaction to massage oil. I texted back, oh no. Is she okay? I'll be right there. But I didn't go to the hospital. Instead, I made myself a sandwich and went to bed. For the first time in months, I slept like a baby. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Jenna, finally separated from Blake after what the doctors described as a medical adhesive incident, was furious. Where were you? She demanded when she finally came home, her skin red and irritated from the removal process. I was here all night, I said innocently. I never heard you leave. I texted you. I called you. My phone was on silent. You know I sleep heavy. I looked at her with fake concern. What happened? Melissa said something about an allergic reaction? Jenna's story was creative. I'll give her that. According to her version, she'd been at the gym doing a late workout when she'd had a severe reaction to a new massage oil. Blake had been helping her when they'd both gotten stuck to the equipment. It was terrifying, she said, not meeting my eyes. The doctor said it was some kind of industrial adhesive mixed with the oil. Someone must have tampered with it. That's awful, I said. Who would do something like that? I don't know, but when I find out... I nodded sympathetically while internally celebrating. Phase 1 was complete. Jenna and Blake had been exposed, humiliated, and literally stuck with the consequences of their actions. But this was just the beginning. If they thought one night of embarrassment was going to end this, they were sadly mistaken. I had much bigger plans for my cheating wife and her muscle-bound boyfriend. The best part? They had no idea what was coming next. Word travels fast in a town like ours, especially when it involves the local fitness queen and the former football hero getting rushed to the emergency room glued together like a couple of teenagers with a tube of crazy glue. By noon the next day, my phone was buzzing with calls from neighbors, friends, and even customers at the comic shop. Everyone wanted to know if I'd heard about the incident. Mrs. Carmichael, our 70-year-old neighbor who treats gossip like an Olympic sport, was practically vibrating with excitement when she cornered me at the mailbox. Ethan, dear, did you hear about poor Jenna? Such a terrible accident at the gym. Terrible, I agreed, keeping my face appropriately concerned. And that nice Blake Morgan, too? Stuck together for hours they were. The paramedics had to use some kind of special solvent. How awful for them. Yes, well, she leaned closer, lowering her voice. Between you and me, it seems awfully coincidental that they were both there so late, don't you think? I shrugged. Blake's her trainer. I'm sure he was just helping her with a late workout. Mrs. Carmichael's expression suggested she thought my naivety was charming. Of course, dear. I'm sure that's all it was. At the comic shop, Samir was practically bouncing off the walls. You should see the posts on the neighborhood Facebook group, he said, showing me his phone. Half the town is talking about it. Someone even made a meme. The meme was a picture of two action figures stuck together with the caption, "When your workout gets a little too intense." I had to admit, it was pretty funny. This is just the beginning, I told Samir. They think they can spin this as an accident, but I'm not done with them yet. What's the next move? I pulled out my phone and showed him the video I'd captured on my security camera. It clearly showed Blake entering my house with a key, staying for hours, and leaving with Jenna in the ambulance. Insurance, I said, in case they try to turn this around on me. That afternoon, Jenna came home from the gym early, her skin still showing red marks from the adhesive removal. She was quieter than usual, almost subdued. How are you feeling? I asked, playing the concerned husband. Better. Still sore. She sat down heavily on the couch. Not the same couch where she'd been stuck to Blake, I noticed. We'd had to throw that one away due to adhesive damage. The doctors said it was definitely industrial adhesive, she continued. Someone deliberately contaminated that massage oil. That's horrible. Do you have any idea who would do something like that? She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see the wheels turning behind her eyes. No, she said finally, but I'm going to find out. Maybe it was just a manufacturing error, I suggested. You know, Wrong chemical in the wrong bottle. Maybe. But she didn't sound convinced. That evening, Melissa came over for what she called an emergency girls' night. I made myself scarce, but not before setting up my phone to record from the kitchen. The old house had thin walls, and I could hear every word from the living room. "This is a disaster," Jenna said. "Half the town thinks Blake and I were having an affair." "Well, you were having an affair," Melissa pointed out. "That's not the point." We were careful. No one was supposed to know. Except someone did know. Someone who had access to your massage oil. There was a long pause. Then Jenna's voice, cold and calculating. "You think Ethan did this? Who else?" "He's the only one who could have gotten to your stuff without you noticing." "But Ethan's not. He doesn't have the balls." "Thanks for the vote of confidence, honey." "Maybe you underestimated him," Melissa said. "Quiet guys can be dangerous when they're pushed too far." "If he did this," Jenna said slowly, "then he knows about Blake. Which means he's been playing me this whole time." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to find out exactly how much he knows. And then I'm going to make him pay for humiliating me." I turned off the recording and smiled. Let her try. I was 3 steps ahead, and I had evidence of everything. If Jenna wanted to escalate this, I was ready. The next morning, I put Phase 2 into motion. Blake's pride and joy was his 2019 Ford F-150, custom painted in metallic blue with Blitz emblazoned on the tailgate. He parked it at the gym every day, positioned so everyone could admire it through the front windows. I'd done my research. A 5-pound container of pre-workout powder, the kind with the consistency of chalk dust, costs about $40. When mixed with water and poured into a vehicle's air intake system, it creates a paste that hardens like concrete. I waited until Blake was inside teaching his morning CrossFit class, then casually walked past his truck with a large coffee cup filled with the powder mixture. One quick pour into the air intake, and Blake's precious truck wasn't going anywhere. I also left a little note under his windshield wiper. "Next time, try working out at your own gym. A concerned neighbor." The explosion of rage was audible from 3 blocks away. "What the hell happened to my truck?" Blake's voice carried across the parking lot as he discovered his immobilized vehicle. I was conveniently shopping at the grocery store across the street when it happened. Through the window, I watched Blake frantically trying to start his truck while a crowd of gym members gathered around. When the tow truck arrived an hour later, I heard the mechanic explaining to Blake that his engine was completely seized. The repair estimate was over $8,000. Blake was apoplectic. He stormed around the parking lot, screaming about vandalism and revenge, while his gym members slowly backed away from the spectacle. "Someone's going to pay for this," he shouted. "When I find out who did this, they're going to wish they'd never been born." Empty threats from a man who couldn't even keep his truck running. I finished my grocery shopping and went home, whistling. That afternoon, I received an angry visit from both Jenna and Blake. They stood on my front porch like a pair of door-to-door missionaries from hell. "We need to talk," Jenna said, pushing past me into the house. Blake followed, his face red with rage. "Someone destroyed my truck, and I think you know something about it." "I'm sorry to hear about your truck," I said calmly. "But I don't know why you'd think I'd be involved." "Cut the innocent act," Blake snarled. "You know about us, don't you?" I looked back and forth between them, letting confusion play across my face. "Know about what?" "About me and Jenna," Blake said. "About our relationship." "Your professional relationship?" "She mentioned you're her trainer." Jenna stepped forward. "Ethan, stop playing games. We know you tampered with the massage oil." "What massage oil?" "The oil that glued us together at the gym." I blinked. "You were glued together?" "I thought you had an allergic reaction." Blake and Jenna exchanged glances. They were realizing they'd just contradicted their own story. "It's complicated," Jenna said weakly. "Oh, it sounds like it." I sat down in my recliner, projecting calm while they stood there fuming. "Look, I don't know what kind of problems you two are having, but I don't see how it involves me." "Because you're my husband," Jenna exploded. "And you sabotaged us." "Sabotaged what, exactly?" "Your training sessions?" Blake stepped closer, trying to intimidate me with his size. "Listen, you little weasel, I know you did something to my truck too, and if you don't make this right, you'll what?" I stood up, meeting his eyes. "You'll beat up a comic book store owner? That'll look great on your gym's Yelp reviews." Blake's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't swing. He was smart enough to know that hitting me would only make things worse for him. "This isn't over," he said finally. "I don't even know what this is," I replied. "But if you're having problems with vandalism, maybe you should call the police." After they left, I called Samir. "How'd it go?" he asked. "They basically confessed to everything while trying to threaten me. I got it all on my phone recorder." "You're enjoying this way too much." "Maybe. But they started it. I'm just finishing it." "What's next?" I looked out the window at Blake's disabled truck being loaded onto another tow truck. Next, I show this whole town exactly who they're dealing with. And I'm going to do it in the most public way possible. The war was just getting started, and I was winning every battle. The beauty of living in a small city is that everyone knows everyone else's business. The downside is that everyone knows everyone else's business. For Jenna and Blake, this was rapidly becoming a nightmare. Within a week of the gym incident, Jenna had lost 3 major clients from her personal training business. Apparently, wealthy suburban moms don't want fitness advice from someone who makes headlines for getting glued to other people's husbands. Blake's situation was even worse. His gym membership had actually increased. People were joining just to gawk at the guy who'd been literally stuck to a married woman. But his credibility as a serious fitness professional was shot. I, meanwhile, was having the time of my life. My comic shop had never been busier. People kept dropping by, ostensibly to browse the new releases, but really to pump me for information about my wife's accident. I played the role of confused, concerned husband to perfection. I just don't understand how something like this could happen, I'd tell customers with a perfectly straight face. Jenna says it was some kind of equipment malfunction at the gym. The customers would nod sympathetically while clearly not believing a word of it. Samir was less subtle. Your wife's affair is the best thing that ever happened to our business, he said, counting the day's receipts. We should send Blake a thank you card. Don't get ahead of yourself, I warned. This is far from over. I was right. The next escalation came from an unexpected source. Melissa. She cornered me at the grocery store on a Thursday evening, her usual bubbly demeanor replaced by something much more calculating. We need to talk, she said, blocking my path with her shopping cart. Sure, Melissa. What's up? Drop the innocent act, Ethan. We both know you're behind what happened to Jenna and Blake. I shrugged. I honestly don't know what you're talking about. The massage oil. Blake's truck. The convenient timing of it all. She leaned closer. I know you know about the affair. What affair? Her smile was sharp as a knife. Fine. Play dumb, but I want you to know that I have pictures. That got my attention. Pictures of what? Of your little collection, the one you keep in your basement workshop. My blood ran cold. She was talking about my model train setup, a hobby I'd been embarrassed about for years. It wasn't anything illegal or immoral, just a grown man playing with toy trains, but in the right hands, it could be used to make me look pathetic. I don't know what you think you saw. I saw plenty when I helped Jenna move some boxes last month. Room after room of little trains and tiny buildings. Very detailed. Her tone made it sound like I was collecting something far more disturbing. Model trains are a legitimate hobby, I said weakly. I'm sure they are. But how do you think your customers would react if they knew their comic book guy spends his free time playing with toy trains? Might hurt the tough guy image you've been building lately? It was a good threat, I had to admit. In a town where masculinity was measured by truck size and beer consumption, my train hobby would be social suicide. But Melissa had made one crucial mistake. She'd revealed her hand too early. You know what, Melissa? You're right. I do have a model train collection. And you know what else? What? I don't give a damn who knows about it. Her confident expression faltered. See, the thing about hitting rock bottom is that there's nowhere to go but up. My wife's been cheating on me, my marriage is over, and half the town thinks I'm an idiot. What exactly do you think you can threaten me with? People will laugh at you. People are already laughing at me. The difference is, now I'm in on the joke. I pushed past her cart and continued shopping, leaving her standing there with her mouth open. But Melissa wasn't done. 2 days later, she made good on her threat, posting photos of my train room on the neighborhood Facebook group with the caption, "Thought everyone should see what Jenna's husband does in his spare time. No wonder she needed to find her fun elsewhere." The response wasn't what she expected. Instead of mockery, I got sympathy and support. Apparently, model trains are more popular than I'd realized. 3 neighbors came by the shop to talk about their own collections. Mrs. Carmichael brought me cookies and told me her late husband had been a train enthusiast. Even better, the post backfired on Melissa spectacularly. The comments section filled up with people criticizing her for invading my privacy and implying that adultery was justified by someone's hobbies. "This is disgusting," wrote one neighbor. "Since when is cheating okay because you don't like your husband's interests?" "Melissa should be ashamed of herself," added another. "At least Ethan's hobby doesn't involve destroying other people's marriages." By evening, Melissa had deleted the post, but screenshots had already spread throughout the community. Her reputation as a gossip and troublemaker was now firmly established. Score another point for the good guys? But Blake wasn't content to let his girlfriend fight his battles. On Friday night, he decided to take matters into his own hands. I was closing up the comic shop when I heard the sound of breaking glass. Blake had thrown a rock through my front window, shattering the display case that held my rarest comics. I calmly pulled out my phone and called 911, then activated the shop's security system. Blake was still standing in the street, apparently waiting for me to come out and confront him. "Ethan," he shouted, "get out here. Let's settle this like men." I stayed inside and kept recording. When Detective O'Hara arrived, Blake was still ranting about vandalism and revenge. The irony was apparently lost on him. "So let me get this straight," O'Hara said, looking at the broken window and then at Blake. "You're complaining about vandalism while standing next to a window you just broke?" "He destroyed my truck," Blake protested. "Do you have any proof of that?" "Well, no, but you do admit to throwing this rock through his window?" Blake's face went through several interesting color changes as he realized his mistake. "I was provoked." "By what? A comic book display?" The charges were filed that night: vandalism, destruction of property, and disturbing the peace. Blake spent the weekend in jail because he couldn't make bail. Apparently, truck repairs had cleaned out his savings. On Monday morning, I reopened the shop with a new display in the repaired window, a collection of comics about revenge, justice, and the triumph of underdogs. The centerpiece was a vintage issue of The Punisher with a handwritten sign, "Some people never learn." The message was clear: I wasn't backing down. But the real masterstroke came later that week, when I organized what I called a Community Appreciation Day at the comic shop. I invited everyone who'd supported me during the Facebook incident, plus all my regular customers, plus anyone who wanted to learn about model trains. I set up displays of both comics and trains, served free coffee and donuts, and created an atmosphere of genuine community. The event was a huge success. More importantly, it was held on the same day as Blake's grand reopening of his gym after the truck incident. While Blake stood alone in his empty gym, wondering where all his members had gone, I was surrounded by friends, neighbors, and supporters. The contrast couldn't have been more stark. Jenna showed up near the end of the event, looking haggard and defeated. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching me laugh and joke with people who'd clearly chosen sides. "Ethan," she said quietly, "can we talk?" I looked around at my supporters, then back at her. "I think we've said everything we need to say. Please, just 5 minutes." I nodded to Samir, who took over hosting duties, and followed Jenna outside. "This has to stop," she said. "What you're doing to Blake, to me, to our friends, it's gone too far." "What I'm doing?" I laughed. "Jenna, I haven't done anything but run my business and live my life. If you and Blake are having problems, that's between you two. You know exactly what you did." "Prove it." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the exact instant she realized she was beaten. Any accusation she made would require admitting to the affair. Any evidence she tried to present would only make her look worse. "I want a divorce," she said finally. "Okay." She blinked. "Okay? Sure. I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers. You can keep whatever you brought into the marriage. I'll keep the house and the business. That's not... we should discuss... There's nothing to discuss. You made your choice when you started sleeping with Blake. Now you get to live with the consequences." I turned to go back inside, then paused. "Oh, and Jenna? You might want to find a new gym. I hear Blake's having some membership issues." As I rejoined my party, I could see her through the window, standing alone on the sidewalk. For the first time since this whole thing started, I actually felt a little sorry for her, but not sorry enough to stop what I had planned next. The final act was about to begin, and it was going to be spectacular. The annual Riverside Community Block Party was the social event of the year in our neighborhood. Every August, the city closed off 3 blocks of Elm Street, and residents set up booths, food stands, and entertainment for what was essentially a massive outdoor festival. This year, I had volunteered to help organize it. "You want to do what?" Samir asked when I explained my plan. "A wellness and fitness expo," I said innocently. "Educational booths about health, nutrition, exercise, very community-minded. And you want Jenna to be the featured speaker? She's a certified fitness instructor with years of experience. Who better to talk about the importance of proper training techniques?" Samir stared at me. "You're diabolical." "I'm helpful. The community deserves to learn from the best." The invitation I sent to Jenna was perfectly professional. The Community Block Party Committee, which was mostly me and Mrs. Carmichael, would be honored to have such a respected local fitness expert share her knowledge with the neighborhood. Jenna's response was suspicious, but ultimately predictable. Her reputation had taken such a beating over the past month that she desperately needed positive publicity. A community speaking engagement would help rebuild her image as a serious professional. She agreed to speak on maintaining professional standards in personal training. The irony was delicious. Blake, meanwhile, had been unusually quiet since his arrest. His gym was hemorrhaging members, his truck was still in the shop, and word was spreading about his involvement in the massage oil incident. He was keeping a low profile, probably hoping the whole thing would blow over. It wouldn't. On the morning of the block party, I arrived early to help set up. The main stage was positioned at the intersection of Elm and Oak Streets, with a perfect view from 3 directions. I'd also arranged for the local cable access channel to broadcast the event live. Big crowd expected? Asked Jim Martinez, the AV technician setting up the sound system. The biggest, I said. This is going to be one for the ages. By noon, the street was packed. Food trucks lined both sides of Elm Street. Kids ran between bounce houses and game booths, and a steady stream of neighbors browsed the various displays. I'd positioned my comic shop booth directly across from the main stage, with a perfect view of the speaking area. Samir was helping me sell comics and collectibles, but we were both really there for the show. At 2 p.m., Jenna took the stage. She looked nervous but determined, dressed in professional athletic wear and carrying a folder of notes. The crowd gathered around the stage, maybe 50 people, including several families with children. Good afternoon, everyone, Jenna began, her voice carrying clearly through the sound system. I'm Jenna Doyle, and I'm here to talk about maintaining professional standards in personal training. The presentation started normally enough. Jenna discussed proper form, safety protocols, and the importance of clear communication between trainers and clients. She was actually quite knowledgeable when she wasn't busy cheating on her husband, but I hadn't arranged this speaking engagement to showcase Jenna's expertise. At exactly 2:15 p.m., the large projection screen behind the stage flickered to life. Jim Martinez looked confused. This wasn't part of the scheduled presentation. The first image was a screenshot of text messages between Jenna and Blake, discussing their special training sessions. I'd recovered them from Jenna's phone during one of her long showers, using a simple data recovery app. Blake, can't wait for tonight's workout, wink face. Jenna, I'll bring the special oil. This is going to be intense. Blake, your husband's still clueless? Jenna, completely. He actually thinks I'm getting in shape, LOL. The crowd began murmuring as they read the messages. Jenna, still speaking about professional boundaries, hadn't noticed the screen behind her. The next slide was even better. A photo Blake had sent to Jenna showing him flexing in the gym mirror with the caption, "All this could be yours, babe." Jenna? Someone in the crowd called out. You might want to turn around. Jenna spun around and saw the screen. Her face went white, then red, then white again. This isn't part of my presentation, she stammered. But the show was just getting started. The next image was security camera footage from my house, showing Blake entering with a key while I was supposedly asleep. The timestamp clearly showed it was during one of Jenna's alleged late workouts. Then came the audio. Through the sound system, crystal clear, came Jenna's voice from the night she'd talked to Melissa in our bathroom. God, Mel, you should see his body, and the things he can do. Poor Ethan. He thinks foreplay is asking if I want the lights on or off. The crowd was dead silent now. Every eye was on Jenna, who stood frozen on the stage like a deer in headlights. But I still wasn't done. The final slide was a compilation of Blake's social media posts over the past 6 months, all featuring photos of him with various women, including several who were clearly married, based on their wedding rings. The caption read, Blake Blitz Morgan, specializing in personal training. That's when Blake himself appeared. He came running from the direction of his gym, probably having been alerted by someone in the crowd. He pushed through the gathered neighbors, his face furious. Turn that off, he shouted, pointing at the screen. This is harassment. Actually, I said, stepping out from behind my booth, this is public education. The community has a right to know about the professional standards of their local fitness providers. Blake spun around to face me. You son of a... Careful, I interrupted. There are children present. The crowd had grown to over 100 people now, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Carmichael was frantically taking photos with her phone. The cable access camera was capturing everything. You think you're so smart, Blake snarled, advancing toward me. You think you've won something here? I think I've provided a valuable public service, I replied calmly. People should know what they're paying for when they hire a personal trainer. Jenna finally found her voice. Ethan, please, stop this. You've made your point. Have I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you two are still trying to spin this as my fault. We never meant for it to happen, she said, tears starting to flow. It started as friendship, and then you decided to use my house as your personal love nest while lying to my face for months. The crowd was eating this up. I could see people recording with their phones, probably already uploading to social media. Blake, realizing that words weren't working, decided to try intimidation. He stepped closer, using his size to try to make me back down. You've destroyed my business, he said. My reputation, my life. No, I replied. You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. You sabotaged my truck. Prove it. You tampered with the massage oil. Prove it. Blake's face was purple with rage. I don't need to prove anything. Everyone knows it was you. Everyone knows you were sleeping with my wife in my house, I shot back. Everything else is just karma. That's when Blake snapped. He lunged at me, fists swinging, apparently forgetting that we were surrounded by witnesses and cameras. I stepped aside easily. Months of anger had made me faster and more focused than I'd been in years. Blake's momentum carried him forward, and he crashed directly into my comic booth. The table collapsed, sending hundreds of comic books flying through the air like confetti. The crowd gasped and scattered as Blake struggled to get up, now covered in comic books and looking like an idiot. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, looking down at him. "You're going to assault me at a community block party, in front of children, while being broadcast on live television?" Blake looked around and seemed to realize the magnitude of his mistake. Detective O'Hara was already pushing through the crowd, having been working security for the event. "Blake Morgan," O'Hara said wearily, "I'm starting to think you enjoy my company." As Blake was handcuffed for the second time in a month, I turned to address the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize for this disruption. This was supposed to be a celebration of our community, and instead, you've had to witness the consequences of dishonesty and betrayal." I looked directly at Jenna, who was still standing on the stage, tears streaming down her face. "My wife and I are getting divorced," I announced. "She's chosen to pursue other interests, and I wish her the best of luck. As for Blake, I hope he finds the help he clearly needs." The crowd began to disperse, buzzing with conversation and excitement. This would be the talk of the town for months. Jenna climbed down from the stage and approached me, her professional composure completely shattered. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you have to humiliate me like this?" "I didn't humiliate you," I said quietly. "I just showed everyone who you really are. The humiliation is all yours. I loved you, Ethan. I really did." "No, you didn't." "You loved the idea of me. The safe, boring husband who wouldn't cause problems while you did whatever you wanted. But you never loved me." She had no answer for that. As the block party continued around us, I began cleaning up the scattered comics from Blake's rampage. Several neighbors came over to help, offering sympathy and support. "You handled that with real class," said Mr. Peterson from 2 streets over. "A lot of guys would have just gotten violent." "Violence doesn't solve anything," I replied. "But the truth? The truth solves everything." Samir appeared at my elbow, grinning from ear to ear. "So what now?" he asked. I looked around at the community that had rallied around me, at the business that was thriving, at the life I was building from the ashes of my marriage. "Now we go back to work," I said. "We've got comics to sell and trains to run." As the sun set on the Riverside Community Block Party, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Genuine happiness. Not the fake contentment of a marriage built on lies, but the real satisfaction of knowing exactly who I was and what I was worth. Jenna and Blake had thought they could play me for a fool. They'd thought I was too weak, too boring, too pathetic to fight back. They were wrong. Sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. Sometimes the underdog wins. And sometimes, just sometimes, the last laugh really is the sweetest. 3 months later, Blake moved to another state after his gym went bankrupt. Jenna tried to rebuild her fitness business but found that small towns have long memories. She eventually moved in with her mother and got a job at a chain gym in the next city over. Me? I expanded the comic shop, added a model train section, and started dating Lisa, the woman who used to manage Blake's gym before it closed. She appreciates both comics and trains, and she's never once lied to me about working late. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. I celebrated by buying a vintage Superman comic and a new locomotive for my train set. It was the best Tuesday of my life.